Hello friends, welcome to the channel and thank you for watching this video. In this session we are going to learn the next chapter of Ansys Space Claim training module, and that is object selection options in Ansys Space Claim. This video is the second chapter from the complete Space Claim training module. You can refer the below link for other chapters we have covered so far in this training module. This session takes a deeper look at selection options in Ansys Space Claim. It explains different types of object selection tools and some other useful navigation tools. This is an important option since all the steps and operations in SpaceClaim start with selecting an object. The object can be a line, surface, bodies, or even axes and planes, etc. Let's get started then. The part files are already loaded in SpaceClaim for demonstration of the topic of this session. It is crucial to know different ways of selecting an object to perform the different operations such as pull, move, etc. to do it quickly and efficiently. But before we begin, let's take a refresher on the mouse buttons for model navigations that we learned in the last chapter. For rotating the model, click and hold the middle mouse button and move the mouse. You can see the spin symbol here. This will rotate the model about an anchor. The anchor location will be the mouse cursor position during the step of holding the middle mouse button. For example, when I change the mouse location here, it will move the model around this anchor. In order to zoom in and out of the model, we can just use the middle mouse roller. Spin the roller forward and reverse for zooming in and out of the model. If you would like to zoom in on a particular area, then you can do it using the shift button. Hold down the shift button and create a box using the middle roller from left to right. You can zoom in on any particular area using this option. For panning the model, like moving it in a vertical or horizontal motion, we can use a control button. Press the control key and using the middle mouse button, move the model in vertical and horizontal direction. Right click is for different options that is associated with the object we have selected. In this case, we selected the surface and you can see various options that are associated with the surface. Those options we can do on a surface. If you want to change these mouse buttons and keyboard keys for navigation purpose, then you can explore the advanced options over here and go to navigation. You can see all those options we talked about are listed here. For example, spin is done like rotating the model is done using the middle mouse button. So likewise, you can change any of these keys here. As we have learned, for selection of any object, whether it is a surface, line, or solid, you can use left click. We'll be using this a lot during this session because this is all about selecting objects in SpaceClaim. Selecting any object is very basic. You can just left click on any object to select. However, it will be important to understand whether you have selected an edge, face, or a solid body. First thing that you will notice after selection is the change in the color. SpaceClaim will highlight that surface, that entity which you have selected. There is another option to know about this selection. Whenever you select any entity, whether it is a line or whether it is an edge or a surface, you can see the information over here of what is selected. As we have selected face, it notifies us that one face has been selected. If we select an edge, then accordingly the information will be updated. The other information is also updated here with the length of the edge. If you want to select multiple objects at once, then you can hold down the control key and select the multiple faces you want to choose. It can be either faces or edges or a combination. So in order to select the multiple objects, you can just hold down the control key and select any object you want. As we were selecting the objects, you can know the information has been updated here. So right now, two edges and two faces are selected. Using the control option for multiple selections, please remember that you need to keep holding the control key until all the objects or entities are selected. If you release the control key, then all the other earlier selections will be cleared or unselected when you will click the next object. For example, if I select these three faces using the control key, and if I release the control key and start to select the next surface, all the other selections will be cleared and the current one will be selected. Hence, remember to keep the control key pressed while selecting multiple objects. This was about selecting. If you want to remove any object or any geometry from the selection, then you can just click on that object one more time and it will be unselected. So for example, if you selected these three faces using the control key, and and if you want to remove one of those surfaces, then you can keep the control key pressed and click on the face one more time, it will be unselected. If you want to remove all the selections, clear the selections, then you can click anywhere on the white screen, all the selections will be clear. Or you can press the escape key to clear all the selections. Sometimes we need to visualize the surfaces or features behind any particular faces or an object. For example, if you want to select the face opposite to this face or behind this face, then we can just rotate the model and look at it. However, there might be some instances when those features are inside the solid and cannot be viewed from outside. You can still select those features. Let's try this. Click on a surface, any surface you want. Hold the control key and spin the mouse roller. This will highlight the features or objects behind this surface. You can keep spinning the roller until it highlights the object you want to select. You can then release the control key and select that highlighted feature or object using a left click. So you can see I could select the surface behind the surface we had selected using the control option. Let's look at some circular or rounded features. If you hover your mouse on these features, it highlights the surfaces. Also, you can notice that as the face is circular, the axis is displayed. You can select this axis too. If you want to zoom in onto the feature you have selected, then you can click on zoom and zoom extend. This option is right here. You can click zoom or zoom extend. As we had selected axis, it is zooming onto the axis. Let's try this one more time. Let's select these two faces, and if we want to zoom in onto this feature, then we can go to zoom and zoom extend. So it will zoom in onto the feature we have selected. The shortcut key for this is keyboard letter Z. For example, if you unselect everything, like I'm using escape key here, and press Z, it will zoom on to the entire model because nothing was selected. So whenever you want to see the full model, you can just press the keyboard key Z and it will display the whole model. Until now, we have seen how we can select the object using mouse left click. There are other ways to do the selection. One of the other method is double clicking any feature. For example, let me select one surface using a left click. So one surface is selected using a left. If you double click on a surface, then you can see the adjacent surfaces are also selected. In Space Claim, double-clicking will select all the tangent faces attached to the face we have double-clicked. Double-click is nothing but clicking twice in a quick succession. In addition to the faces, we can double-click edges and it will select the edges those are tangent or in a closed loop to that double-clicked edge. For example, let's click this edge and let's double-click it. So it has selected this loop. This is the loop which this edge is part of. A single edge can be a part of different loops. So if you want to select a different edge loop, you can double click it the second time. It will select a different edge loop every time you double click it. The other option to select the object is using box select. This is a convenient option to select multiple geometries at once. You can find that option over here using box. Once you click this option, you will notice small rectangle that appears by the arrow. This represents that you are inside a box selection filter. Holding down a left click and drawing a box from left to right will create a box. And as you move this box around a geometry, it will start selecting the objects that are inside the box. And if you are satisfied with the selection, you can release the mouse and you can see those surfaces or entities are selected. You can notice the information displayed here for the selections. Currently, the 10 faces are selected. If I draw a bigger box, then other objects starts to get selected. There is one important aspect about the box selection that you will note. If you start to create the box, you can see that the edges start selecting first, as those are completely inside a box. As we move further, the surfaces start selecting as those begin to capture inside a box. Once you start creating a box, you can always pause to see which geometries are selected. And you can click anywhere on the white screen to remove that selection if you're not satisfied with the selection software has done. The box selections can be used for any type of geometries, be it an edge, face, or solid. However, till now you might have seen that it was selecting surfaces at the end. You can change this using a filter here. Currently, the selection filter is set at Smart. You can uncheck this and you can see here there are different types of geometry entities. You can filter it out. For example, if you want to just select the edges, then using a box option, it will only select the edges that are completely inside the box. It will not select any faces. You can see the information updated here that it has selected 366 edges. You can set this filter accordingly to select whether faces, bodies, edges, or sketch curves, or any other things such as planes, axes, vertices, etc. Let's go back to the smart option. You will notice one thing here that creating a box from left to right, select only those faces or edges or any entities which are completely inside the box. Those geometries which are partially inside the box will not be selected. For example, you can see all those faces, those are completely enclosed inside a box, will only be selected, and all other faces, these faces are not selected. We have learned about a box selection method by creating a box from left to right. There is one more box selection option. Let's see what happens if we reverse the box creation. If we create the box from right to left, then you will notice that all those geometries that crosses this or the entities which are inside the box completely or even partially will get selected. You can see that the extent of the box is just at the end, but all other surfaces are also selected which are outside the box. But some of the surfaces were partially inside the box, so all of those surfaces will be selected. Let's look at this option one more time. So if I draw a box, I'm drawing a box from right to left. As you can see, all those faces, even though they are partially inside the box, are selected. So that's the only difference between creating a box selection from left to right and right to left. Let's see how we can select a solid. If you look at the top left corner of this display window, it says click an object, double click to select, and triple click to select a solid. That means if you triple click on any surface, it will automatically select a solid. This is why the information displayed over here is so useful, knowing what the tool does or what the particular tool wants user to do or select. Triple clicking means just like left clicking, but clicking now 3 times in a quick succession. You can practice this to know more. Let's try this. Let's select surface and triple click on it. So now you can see the solid is selected when I triple clicked on it. You can see over here in the structure tree as well, the solid is selected. This is another way of selecting a solid. You can just go to a solid in the structure tree and select it. So that will select the solid. And at the bottom you can see one body is selected. One body means a solid body. We can use box selection as well to select the body. Only at this time, we need to create a box around the whole body. Let's try that. Let's create a box around the whole body from left to right. You can see one body is selected. So it selects the solid body. This all covers the basic options for selecting the geometry or any entity in Space Claim. It's now time to move on to learn some advanced features for geometry selection. Those options are pretty cool and time saving in a lot of situations when you are working on a bigger and complex models. These options are placed over here, right under the option of box. These are called using lasso, polygon, using paint option, using boundaries, select all, selects everything in the model, and selecting just the components. We're going to take a look at all these options in detail. Let's look at the lasso operation. For example, if I want to create this one single bucket of this Pelton turbine, then I can just go here and do the selections using lasso. This mode enables you to draw a free-form shape in the design window. You can draw any shape around the object as long as it encompasses the geometry you want to select. Once you click this lasso option, some kind of a symbol appears alongside the arrow. This represents a free-form symbol. Let's create a free-form shape around this bucket. We just need to click a left mouse button and go on drawing a free-form shape around this bucket. And in the end, make sure to cross the starting line. And now you can release the left click. Once you release the left click, it will highlight the surfaces selected using this option. Let me try this option for this shaft. So left click and go around this object to create a free-form shape. You can see the shaft is now selected. The information is updated over here. You will notice one thing here, that the shaft behind the view was not selected. It's because of the default selection filters. If you go down here, below the smart options, there is one more option which is used for box selections or lasso and other options we are going to see. Default is automatic, which selects visible faces and the connected hidden faces. You can, however, change this if needed. So if you wanted to select the shaft behind the view or the hidden one, then we can select through option, and let's try that lasso option one more time. Now you will see that the shaft behind the view is also selected. So basically, once you create the freeform shape, everything that is inside that freeform will be selected whether it is visible or not visible in the view. Let's go back to the automatic filter. Next is the polygon mode. This is very much similar to lasso, except instead of a freeform shape, there are straight lines that will constitute a polygon. Let's take a look at it. Once you click on polygon option, as you can see, a polygon shape will appear by the arrow symbol. Let me select the same faces using the polygon tool. For this, you need to left click around the face and move the mouse. You'll notice a line will appear. This is the first line of the polygon. You can then go on clicking to draw such lines around the faces you want to select. While you are selecting, you'll notice that the faces are updating. Once done, you can release the left click and you can see that all the faces inside that polygon are now selected. Let's try this for the shaft. These methods work great for bigger and complex models. The next selection mode is paint, using paint. When you click on this mode, you can see a paintbrush alongside the arrow. It's very easy to use this tool. Just imagine as if we paint these faces. Click and hold the left click on any face. Remember not to release the left click yet. Now drag or move the cursor to the faces you want to select. As you can see, I am moving the cursor. It is selecting the faces that it is touching. It does not need to be any particular order. It can be a random. And you can release the mouse once you are satisfied with the selection. Those surfaces the cursor touched will be selected. Let's try this one more time. Select using paint, hold the control key and move this paint brush or the cursor around the faces you want to select. There is one thing to note here that with this mode, you can only select the visible faces. Those surfaces behind or in the background of the model will not be selected, even though you select using a through filter. Next is the option called using boundary. This is a very convenient option and can be very helpful for geometry repairing. Let's look at this selection mode. For this option, we need to define a boundary and all the geometric features such as faces or edges will be selected using just one click. Let's see in this model, I want to select all the blades here on the fan. Let's see what options we have here. Let me orient the model first and let's try to use the other options just for the sake of demonstration. Let's try to see if I'll be able to achieve the same result. With the box selection from left to right, you can see the blades are selected, but the face behind the behind the fan is also selected, which I do not want. The same way, polygon and paint will also work, but the boundary works differently. For this option, we need to select the boundary around the parts we want to select. For example, these blades are connected to the hub at this common surface. These two are the common surfaces. And all these four blades are connected to these surfaces. So these surfaces form our boundary. Let's try again with this option. Let's go to using boundary option. You can see the notification here. It says click a face to add it or remove it from the boundary. So the first we need to define a boundary. Let's do that by clicking these two surfaces, because these blades are not connected to any other surfaces than the ones we have selected. Once the boundary selection is done, you can move on to select the next. For example, select a seat surface. Seat can be any face within the boundary or the faces we want to select. Let's select any face on the blades. You can see the blade is now selected, but it is only one blade selected because the blades individually are not connected to each other. So we can select the one face of each blade. You can see all the blades are now selected. Let's try this again with a different feature. For example, if I want to select this rib surfaces using the boundary option, let's try that. So this rib is connected to this boundary. So this will form our boundary. So let's go to the boundary option. The first we need to select the boundary. So as you select, you will notice the color changes to blue. Let's select the seat surface. That will be on this rib. Once you click on the rib, the boundary faces selection will disappear and all the faces of the rib will be selected. So this is our selection which can be used for any particular operation. Let's look at the other selection methods that are left. Select all is nothing but selecting all the components or the solids. Once you select it, all the solids from the model are selected. So the last selection filter is selecting components. Components are the folders you can see in the structure tree. These components are created to organize the individual solid parts. You can refer the components just as a folder where some parts are placed. A component can have multiple solids. For example, of this component, the plunger wall body has two solids because it is made up of two solids. So we have organized those two solids under one name, and that is a component name. Now let's get back to the selection mode. When we activate this select components mode, it prompts an information or instruction for the user to select an object to select its component. So if we select any object, if you hover your mouse on any object, you will notice a box is being created around it. Let's select that solid. Once you select the solid, you will notice that in the structure tree, the component is selected and not the solid. So it selects the whole component. So if we select this solid, you can see that the whole component is selected, even though there are two solids. So you can now do operation with the whole component. We can now use this selection for any operation such as, let's say, move. And if you want to move, as this whole component is selected, all the solid bodies which are within this component will be moved. Let's try this. You can see the two solids which were within this component are moved together at the same time. These are all the options for selecting geometries in Ansys Space Claim. Always remember to check at the bottom of the screen for what is selected before moving forward with the different actions such as move, pull, fill, or any other operation. It is always good to make sure of the selections to get the desired outcome from any geometry creating or editing tools. Hope you have learned the different options for the geometry selections. This concludes the chapter of object selection options in Ansys Space Claim. Thanks once again for watching this video. Please don't forget to check out the next chapters in this training module.